Hey everybody, Mobius1 here, bringing another Star Wars Galaxies emulator video. Real life has been soaking up quite a bit of my free time these past couple weeks, but I did want to get one more video in this month, particularly because I promised a viewer of mine that I would. Viewer of mine, Joshua Gandy, asked me, in so many words, why would I want to play on Basilisk when I know at some point in the future it's going to wipe, or more specifically, shut down. And I feel like this is a question that I get asked often enough that it warrants having a video that I can just paste a URL to whenever I'm asked and be like, here, instead of me explaining it over again, just watch this video. Those of you that have been playing on the EMU project for a while are more than aware of the fact that Basilisk is still technically a test server, and that once the project reaches completion, the server will be shut down and replaced with another play server called Suncrusher. This means that everything that you have on Basilisk, your characters, your houses, your skills, professions, unlocks, badges, everything will be lost when this happens. Now, don't panic, depending on when you're watching this video. If you're watching it on July 31st of 2017, this is not going to happen for quite a while. Unfortunately, due to the nature of the project being a volunteer project, where we don't have deadlines for project updates or patches or anything like that. We don't know exactly when this is going to happen, but we do have a general idea just by looking at how much content is missing from the project and looking at time gaps between previous updates. Now, of course, nobody on the project staff is ever going to give anybody some sort of estimated time of when an update's going to come out. That's just how it is. And if you've been following my channel as of late, you will know that I am not part of the project staff, so I can give you my estimation of when I think this wipe will occur. I used to say within 2 to 3 years, but I think I'm leaning more now towards like 3 to 4 years, so probably like 2020 to 2021. But of course, that's with like a little asterisk saying, hey, you know, this is just a guess. It could be sooner, it could be later. I have absolutely no idea. My guess is as good as anyone's. So that brings us back to the question, why play on a server that's going to eventually be shut down? Why spend so much time playing on a game where all of your progress is going to be lost? Isn't that just a huge waste of time? And the really unfortunate answer is yes. Yes, it is. It's at the very basic, like very bare bones, end of the day, bottom line, yes, it is. It's a waste of time. But if you analyze it, can't you say that about playing video games in general? I mean, really, any time you're playing a video game, I'm sure I've heard it throughout my entire life, that playing video games, whether it's an MMO on a server that's going to shut down, or if it's a first-person shooter, or if it's a single-player RPG, isn't that a waste of time? Obviously, I can't speak for everybody, but pretty much just assume that everything I say in this video is my personal experience. Everybody's going to have a different experience, so what I say may or may not relate to you, but this is just coming from me. But I can personally say I've played dozens of single-player RPGs. Final Fantasies, I've played like 5 or 6 different Final Fantasies start to finish. Knights of the Old Republic start to finish. I've played several MMOs that both are and are not still in existence. I've played EVE Online, I've played Galaxies, I've played the Old Republic, I've played World of Warcraft, I've played Lord of the Rings Online. I've played RuneScape, I've played Astro Empires, I've played Alien Adoption Agency, I've played, yes, Club Penguin. And if I stop and I step back and I look at all of those, and I look at the ones that I are either A, still running, or B, that I still play, I don't play any of them anymore. I mean, obviously the emulator I still play, but Live Galaxies got shut down. All the countless hours that I've put into an official MMO were lost. But what's the difference between hours that are lost when a game gets shut down versus hours that are lost when a newer game comes out that draws your attention away, or like, you know, shifts your attention from the one that you were playing to the new one? It doesn't matter if the server wipes or gets shut down. If you're no longer interested in that game, it doesn't matter if it's still there. You're playing something else now, something newer, better, whatever, that is your new game to be playing. I mean, maybe not everybody thinks that way, but personally, I bounce between multiple games. It's part of why I've been playing Galaxies for so long. Galaxies, while it is the only MMO that I'm playing currently, it's definitely not the only game that I'm playing currently. And I typically do get burnt out playing Galaxies if I play it too frequently. I need to space out my Galaxies playtime, or else I do get bored with it, despite how much I love the game. I'm kind of getting off topic here a little bit, so let me bring it back. If you were to ask me directly during a live stream and say, Mobius, why do you play on Basilisk? My answer is simply that Basilisk is the most vanilla form of Galaxies that you can play right now. All of the other custom servers have some sort of modifiers or custom content that was not present in the original Galaxies. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that's not what I personally am looking for when I go to play Star Wars Galaxies. I am looking to recreate the experiences that I had when I played it in live, and adding like 2.5 times XP rates, or being able to become a Jedi by doing a bunch of different stuff that wasn't how you did it in live. If that sort of stuff is interesting to other people, I am absolutely not trying to stop them from going and having fun and doing that on those servers. There are aspects of pre-CU Galaxies that I dislike. I dislike PvP. I dislike the combat system in general for the most part. I mean, it's very spammy. For the most part, I mean, unless you're doing like competitive PvP, you just put a bunch of states on your target and then spam the same move over and over again. It's not very involved or interactive combat by any means. So really, the main factor that draws me to this game, and Basilisk specifically, is the nostalgia. Now, I know that addresses why I choose to play on Basilisk over the other servers, but it does kind of dance around the fact that Basilisk is going to wipe. And there are a couple of different things that pop into my mind whenever somebody mentions the wipe. The first of which is, so what? It's a game. It's an online game. Any online game you play, even World of Warcraft, is at some point going to shut down or wipe. But I think the second thing that pops into my mind is probably the more convincing argument to people that are really stuck on the fact that they're going to lose all their progress. And that's the fact that a wipe offers everybody the opportunity to start on a level playing field. I'm sure I could look up the answer to this, but I'm too lazy to because it really doesn't matter. But Basilisk has been running for a long time. I don't know how many years specifically, but it's been quite a while. And yes, absolutely, over the course of however many years it's been, people have come and gone, popped in, played for a couple years, and popped out. That's actually part of the problem I have going on with my guild on Basilisk right now, is that I have, right now, probably about 498 members in the guild, and approximately 485 of those people don't play the game anymore. So I kind of look at Basilisk's population as kind of like a revolving door. You always have some people coming, some people leaving. It's just a constant cycle of players. However, while that's happening, there are a core group, a select few of people that play this game on Basilisk every day and have been for years. And I'm sorry, but the truth is those people have a huge advantage in a lot of things over everybody else on the server. There were prior patches on Basilisk, prior publishes, where legendary weapons would drop more or less frequently than they do now. Certain resources had their values scaled one way or the other, to where certain resources in the past might have had higher quality than they can possibly have now. The point is, things over time have changed. And the people that have been playing through Basilisk's entire lifestyle have had access to things that we don't have access to anymore, or have just amassed such a heap of credits and legendary weapons and damage over time weapons or crafting resources that if somebody were to jump onto the server today, they just can't compete with that. At least not without putting in a tremendous amount of time and effort. Now, these aren't necessarily bad things. I'm not saying that players that put in a lot of time shouldn't have this sort of advantage over other players. But it is an interesting point to bring up whenever somebody talks about a wipe, because those players, after a wipe, will be on the same level as everybody else. If you're just learning about galaxies, and you're like, man, I would love to play this game where I can be like a server-known weaponsmith, where like I can make the best of the best weapons and everybody will know my name and be like, oh man, you got a rifle made by Mobius, man, aren't those weapons the best? If that is like your dream, you could still do that on Basilisk, but it is going to be tough. A wipe, though, makes that sort of a dream or that sort of a goal 1,000 times more likely. A lot of people don't realize that playing Star Wars Galaxies shortly after like a server starts up is a completely different game than playing Star Wars Galaxies right now. If you look on the SWG forums or the SWGEmu subreddit and look at any new players, please help me post, I'm new and I don't know what to do, I can guarantee you the first couple replies are going to be something along the lines of, go to a doctor, get buffs, go to an entertainer, get buffs, go buy a 5,000 credits composite armor minisuit, and grind missions. Well, guess what, guys? After a server wipe, there's no doctors, there's no master dancers or musicians, and there's no armor smiths to make composite armor minisuits. So what do? It is a totally different game. You know all those people that complain about how nobody really groups up and goes out and does missions anymore? The only reason you really need to group up is to do like endgame PvE or PvP now? That it's much more effective to just get into like a group with an ATST and go grind missions by yourself? Yeah, well, when you can't get buffed at a doctor for 2600 health and action, and you can't get 125% mind buffs from a dancer and a musician, and you don't have 85 to 95% kinetic resist composite armor, and you don't have ridiculously OP weapons made by some weaponsmith that got a ridiculous damage slice from a master smuggler, you actually do need to group up and go out together with some friends to take on some of the more difficult missions. When you drive out away from NPC cities, instead of being greeted by an ocean of player housing, there won't be anything out there. That land will be completely untapped. And as a matter of fact, you won't see houses for, I don't know, I was going to say a couple days, but I'm sure there will be a couple people that'll grind Architect up on day one and have at least small houses out there for you to place. But the point is, it's going to take time for stuff like that to return. Actually, one of the more interesting parts about playing on a Galaxy server fresh after a wipe is the land grab that takes place. Almost every Galaxy server I've ever played on has some form of a South Coronet Mall. Well, guess what? When the server wipes, that land is open. So even if you don't plan on starting a South Coronet Mall, you can run out there and throw some houses down, and then as that area builds up, if somebody's really desperate, you can auction that land off to somebody. There's just a ton of really interesting things that playing on a fresh Galaxy server offers that you can't get on a server that's as matured as Basilisk. Think of all the times you've heard people complain about how everybody in-game wears composite armor. That won't be the case when people can't make composite armor as effectively as they can on Basilisk. Think of all the crappy weapons and low-stat armor that you loot off of NPCs and immediately destroy out of your inventory because it's junk. That stuff might actually be useful. And I guess the other thing I could bring up is to all of you that like to be the first at something. Whenever the server starts fresh, there's so much opportunity to be the first at something. Whether that's the first to master a profession, the first to start a player city, the first to complete a dungeon, or the first to like craft a jetpack or a piece of Mandalorian armor, or take out Axva Min, or the Acklay, or the Krellian Corvettes, anything. Whenever everything is reset back to zero, that encourages people to try to become the first. And Galaxies offers a lot of things to be the first at. Unfortunately, when you have a server that's been around as long as Basilisk has, there's nothing left to be the first at. There's nothing left to be the first 100th at. So in my eyes, The fact that Basilisk is going to wipe or shut down and be replaced by a new server is not anything to be afraid of. I'm actually looking forward to it. I don't think it could come soon enough. But before you get too excited, don't go begging the developers to actually wipe Basilisk early because this all sounds great. One of the things Basilisk is actually testing is how well the code stands up when run on a server over an extended period of time. So the fact that Basilisk hasn't wiped in so long is actually part of the test. And because of that, they won't wipe Basilisk unless something really, really awful happens. Just as a side note, something to think about, something that I've always kind of had the idea of, that I don't know if other people would be interested in something like this, but I think one day might be kind of cool if we ever actually saw happen, is what if there was like a server that purposefully reset every so often. Now obviously it would have to be a period of time long enough so that people could, accumulate gear and the resource spawns could cycle long enough so that actually good spawns would pop up. So I'm thinking like maybe every year and a half or 2 years the server just wiped. Almost as if each cycle is like a round. Like you're playing a round of galaxies and one round lasts 2 years. The coders on that server could actually include counters to track things that this version of Galaxies might not actually track. I don't know if it does or not, but like, what if the game tracked the number of PvP kills you got, and at the end of 2 years, when the server wiped, all the totals were listed, and you can see who on the server had the most PvP kills that round. And then the leaders, I guess like top 3 in each category, could get badges or special cosmetic gear given to them in the following round. I don't know. To me, like, something like that would be more interesting than letting one server run for like 20 years straight. But that's just me. Everybody's got their own agenda. Everybody likes different things. That's what makes us all beautiful and unique snowflakes. Hopefully, though, this video explained why I personally prefer to play on Basilisk and don't mind the fact that it's going to shut down in the future. And maybe it even changed how some of you feel about the wipe and got you a little excited to play a different style of Galaxies that you might not have experienced in the past. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I'll do my absolute best to have more Galaxies for you next weekend. I'd like to get back to doing my Jedi Village tutorials. But I think it was a good idea to do this video, so thank you, Josh, for suggesting it. Thank you to everyone else for watching. Mobius1 here, and I'll see you next time.